Hey there, and a happy Thursday, and thank you so much for being with us today. I'm meteorologist Ashley Ruiz, and this is Weather Out West, an hour-long show where we showcase what's happening weather-wise across the western United States. Our meteorologists from our sister stations in 8 regions will bring you daily weather forecasts and explain different weather phenomena that's impacting people across your region. You're going to find coverage from the Pacific Northwest to the Mountain West, California, and Arizona. And when severe weather hits, we'll be the first to alert you if it could impact people or property. So let's dive right in. With Independence Day right around the corner, here is everything you need to know weather-wise that might affect your travel or plans for the celebration today and this 4th of July weekend. First, let's start in the regions where rain is in the forecast, not just today, but potentially into the holiday weekend.
And I'm 9 News Weather Impact Team meteorologist Chris Bianchi here in Denver, Colorado. And for the eastern part of Colorado, the story on this Thursday, it's going to be those toasty temperatures once again back in the low to mid 90s. We will have some isolated storms across eastern Colorado, but again, the main impact, those toasty temps. Meantime, in the high country, we're in the 70s, but widespread showers and storms for us in the higher elevations. The reason why we got all these storms on this Thursday is we had an area high pressure that kind of stifled a lot of those storms back on Wednesday, but that area high pressure kind of migrating east, and that's allowing moisture to come up out of the Gulf and also out of the Pacific Ocean. The result is we're going to be looking at widespread showers and storms here on this Thursday. We've had those around. We're going to keep those around for us on Thursday as well. And those shower storms are going to probably continue here as we head through Thursday night and perhaps lingering into Friday morning. So again, a stormy mountain event for us here on this Thursday in the high country. Widespread showers and storms. And notice again some of these oranges, some of those reds that indicate some of these kind of classic tropical downpours. This is, by the way, if you're curious, a little bit of an early sign of the monsoon. This is classic monsoon energy, monsoon moisture, which means not everybody is going to be getting these heavy rains, but some of you will, and there will be the potential for some localized flooding here in the high country, in the flat tops, and down through the San Juans. Now, looking ahead to the 4th of July, a lot of course, interest in that forecast for us on Friday. Those shower storms still going to linger for us in the Denver area. So if you do have those outdoor plans, those fireworks plans on the 4th of July, talking about 30% coverage, but this is not going to be a washout, just a few storms around for us on the 4th of July itself. That 7-day forecast, temperatures mostly in the upper 80s and lower 90s with a few storms around for us Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but some typical summertime weather over the next few days.
Another afternoon with high temperatures in the 90s. Yesterday, our official high, 92 degrees. That's taken at Denver International Airport. But here in the 9 News backyard, we actually made it up to 94 degrees. Now, it's not all that unusual in summer months for areas that are closer to downtown settings to have higher high temperatures. In other words, to be hotter. And that is due to something called the urban heat island effect. So basically what it is saying is that temperatures increase the closer you get to downtown areas. So for example, out in the country, out across the plains, if it's 85 degrees, you'll gradually see those temperatures warm, the hottest temperature right in the middle of downtown Denver. And that is due to several factors, not just, of course, the solar radiation from the sun, but also due to heat emitted from cars, buildings, and factories. And as you can imagine, there's a lot more cars, buildings, and factories in downtown settings. There's also less trees in urban environments. Less trees equals less shade, and that means less cooling. In addition, you have asphalt and dark rooftops retaining more heat. Yes, there are certainly a lot more rooftops that are dark as well as a lot more asphalt in downtown settings. And concrete, which there's certainly a lot more concrete in downtown areas than in rural areas. Concrete reduces surface moisture, and that surface moisture is really critical in helping to cool down environments. So the bottom line, if you want to get a little hotter in those hot summer months, head to the downtown area. If you want to cool off, head to the plains.
Thank you so much. Urban Heat Island, always a friendly reminder. You know, if you live in the city, how hot it can get from day to night. Now we're going to take you to Phoenix, and believe it or not, a slight break in that extreme heat, but that's not going to last very long. Today, a couple of thunderstorms are possible.
I'm meteorologist Ginger Jeffries with a look at very active weather across Arizona. Oh boy, the summer extremes. This week, we have already seen record heat on Monday, starting out the work week with highs at 116. And then yesterday, we swung the other direction and saw quite a few monsoon, extremes. Take a look. Our 12 News weather watchers flooded us with all sorts of footage as the active weather started moving through. We saw these rain shafts in Payson. Cheryl, thank you so much. Also a dust storm. Look at this. Just before about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we started to see some of the outflow. And then, yes, that dust storm just rolled across the region, starting from the east, getting very dirty skies. So Kurt captured this in Gilbert. And then, yes, a lot of folks here across the region, Marion, the Santan Valley, capturing the rainy day recess for the region. We did pick up some fairly interesting rainfall totals, just like every monsoon. They are very sporadic. We'll see pocketed moisture, a very heavy rainfall, but then the rest of the region won't see as much. So it looks like where we also saw some flooding in South Goodyear, over an inch of rain. And this isn't all-day rainfall. The way our rain moves in here in the Valley of the Sun is very fast and very furious. So this rainfall came down in just a sporadic downpour. It didn't last all day. It was steady at times, but today we're not completely free and clear. In fact, our monsoon meter, which again is our gauge of what we expect to see severe weather, shows that yes, higher elevations also along the rim, White Mountains in southeast Arizona, looking for some shower activity. And the Valley, we're still at a 1. Basically, we're looking for some sizable moisture to move through, but it's very limited. Once again, we're not going to see waves of moisture today, at least for the Valley. We're still going to see impact all around us, but we begin to clear out tonight. And I would say by the early evening, afternoon hours, we are going to be done with the monsoon. But look at this. By 9 o'clock this morning, we've got some brighter banding. This indicates heavier rainfall, could even produce some hail. This is going to push through the Valley in about a 3-hour span. And then I'd say after about noon, everything starts to lift up. By 5 o'clock, it looks clear. And then, by 10 o'clock, we're all said and done. So again, the prime time from about 9 to I'd say 2. And then after that, this moisture is going to start lifting. What it's going to do? Well, keep our temperatures down out of that record territory. In fact, we're going to be below the normal range. So here's the call. Early shower on the Thursday, then clearing. Daytime highs pushing up to about 104 tonight. Mostly clear skies. It's still going to be very weighted, heavy air, and overnight lows down to about 85 degrees. The day is going to map out like this. Remember, around the 10 o'clock hour this morning, we've got that pop-up shower and then partial clearing throughout the day, looking mostly clear after about 6 o'clock, just before the sun goes down. Wind, once again, is going to reveal our weather story. And look at this pop in the wind speeds. When we see that, we've got one cell pushing on through, and I'm talking about pretty strong winds, upwards of about 25 to even 30 miles an hour. Tomorrow, we're done with the moisture. We're still going to see some wind, especially in Kingman, but your 4th of July forecast looks like this. Pretty manageable. I mean, remember, what we do here in the desert in the summer is deal with extreme heat. Tomorrow, instead, we've got temperatures that are slightly below the normal range. That is going to change, my friends. Take a look. 7-day forecast. We've got another round of monsoon moisture for the higher elevations starting Sunday, getting more active by Tuesday. But for the Phoenix region, oh boy, here we go again. After some mellow temperature days, 105 to 107 on Saturday, we've got weather impact alerts that settle in by Monday as daytime highs are headed for 113.
Thanks so much, Ginger. Hopefully everyone gets to enjoy the break from the heat and then a nice holiday week before things start to change once again, before you heat up. Coming up next, we're taking you to California, San Diego, and Sacramento to break down that 4th of July forecast. Once again, thank you so much for joining us for Weather Out West. I'm Ashley Ruiz. Next, we're going to take you to California. We'll start in Southern California, where a gradual warm-up is expected headed into the holiday weekend.
Hi everyone, I'm meteorologist Evan Irani, and we are on the 3rd of July, just shy of the 4th of July holiday weekend, where a lot of people are expected to hit the coastline. This is what we see out at Mission Bay. Mission Bay is beautiful this time of the year, the coolest spot in the county to be, with widespread 70s all week long, and widespread 70s expected to continue through the weekend. It's what happens on the back end as we get into the beginning of next week, where those temperatures are expected to really warm up as a ridge of high pressure builds. That's going to change things up on us. Now, here's the thing. While the beach is likely to be the most popular place to be over this weekend, in fact, 4th of July is expected to be the busiest day of the year out at our beaches, we are seeing a beach hazard statement take effect at the same time. This is not to say that you can't get in the water. It's just a reminder that 1 to 3 foot waves are expected to jump to 3 to 5 foot waves, some sets of 6-footers out there. So a beach hazard statement has been issued starting at 11 a.m. today, Thursday, all the way through 11 p.m. or so on Saturday. So what we're going to be seeing is that surf picks up. It's a good idea to check in with a lifeguard if you are not an experienced surfer or swimmer. They're going to be the experts as to what you can expect along our coast and whether or not it's safe to be getting your toes in and then perhaps all the way in, depending on how intense those wave heights are. If you're going to be celebrating in downtown San Diego, temperatures are going to be in the mid-70s out there, 74 degrees. We started off the morning today with that layer of clouds out by our coastline, but we are watching for a gradual removal of those clouds, a recession of those clouds. So the marine layer pushes on shore, sometimes hugs the western slopes of the mountains, gives us an overcast start to the day around the 6, 7, 8 o'clock hour in the morning, and then very quickly has started to pull its way back. It's going to gain speed, pulling that way back, and it's also going to have less depth to it, meaning that we might start off the day with just some broken clouds out there that start to clear out as early as 6, 7 a.m. That's all going to happen as a warming trend starts to come into play. So for the 4th of July itself, we will still have some AM clouds. We'll have afternoon sun expected, 8 p.m. sunset you saw there. Take a look at your forecast highs for this afternoon across our county. Still on the 3rd of July. Tomorrow afternoon will look similar, but likely a few degrees warmer than what we have here. And you'll notice that as you leave the coast, we start to jump into warmer territory. 73 this afternoon in Oceanside. We're at 80 if you make it all the way out to Escondido, 85 for Ramona, 87 for Campo, and all the way out in our deserts, 103 as that forecast high. But this ridge of high pressure is going to be the big talker in terms of a change in the forecast that will come gradually day to day, but add up over the course of 7. When we look at this afternoon compared to this time next week, it's a full 10 degrees of change out there by our beaches, and that's why we have a lot of confidence in saying that we will have less cloud cover to work with by the middle of next week. The reason why is because cloud cover tends to keep our temperatures in the more mild side, helps to prevent that warm-up from occurring. But if we don't see that cloud cover, we're able to warm up from the start of the day at about 5:45 all the way through the afternoon. And that's what we're expected to see going into next week. So a less active marine layer, less depth to it, more and more sunshine going into next week. 4th of July weekend is right in the middle of that. Friday through Sunday, you see temperatures climbing inland from 80 this afternoon up to 90 by Saturday, a 48-hour change, and you're up by 10 degrees. Another 3 degrees of change as we go from the weekend all the way through the middle of next week. We could be at 93 on average. That means some of our eastern valleys could be near the mid-90s out there. And it is possibly the first day of the year where we could be seeing our mountains in the triple digits all the way up to 101 by Wednesday of next week from a more mild 84 degrees this afternoon. Still a warm weekend ahead. Pack plenty of water and sunscreen, wide-brimmed hat, all helpful things to have with you. 104 across the deserts, already hot, gaining that momentum up to 115 by the time we get to Wednesday of next week.
That July fry is in full swing into next week. Thanks so much, Evan. Next, let's take you up to Northern California, where there are several alerts, weather alerts in place.
I'm meteorologist Monica Woods with a look at our Northern California forecast. One of a big destination spots is going to be Lake Tahoe, looking spectacular as we get going on our Thursday. We have a thunderstorm risk mainly east of the crest for today and through the northern Sierra. This has been kind of migrating its way eastward day by day around a low pressure system that's been bringing the active weather. Now, with that risk of thunderstorms, we also bring in a red flag warning, again, mainly east of the crest, but also through parts of the central Sierra. Wind gusts up to 35 miles per hour, low humidity, and the potential for fast fire spread. You can see the significant fire potential throughout Northern California, largely because of high wind and lightning in the high country. As we move through the valley, moderately dry will elevate the risk of fire, but we also have some gusty winds through parts of the Delta and the East Bay communities. Wind alert in effect for the Tahoe Basin. That includes Lake Tahoe with a wind advisory, wind gusts up to 30 miles per hour on the lake, 1 to 2 feet for our waves with small watercraft that are going to be vulnerable to capsizing. Our soil moisture continues to dry out, just something to be aware of. Even though our temperatures are cooling, it's still going to give a risk for some grass fires in the valley as well. Fuel dryness is starting to edge towards those large fires likely. We get a little relief from the heat, but we're going to start to see that build where deeper into the season we start to see that peak into a higher risk of those fires burning. A look around the region on our Thursday. Again, heading into the holiday weekend, Amador County, Placer County, Walnut Grove near the Delta. We've got some high clouds out there in Mount Tamalpais, a great place to hike towards the Bay Area. Started off with some fog, now looking at some clearing during the afternoon. And that's how things are pretty much going to play out for the next couple of days. Temperatures today already cooling into the 90s throughout the valley, 80s and 90s in the foothills, and we'll still top out in the 70s for the high country. A look at our holiday weekend forecast for the Bay Area. Gusty winds on Friday, a mix of sun and clouds over the weekend, highs in the 60s. We're in the 80s to near 90 for the valley with sunny skies. In the foothills, we'll stay in the 80s with sunshine. And again, for this Europe, most of those thunderstorms starting to clear out of the forecast with highs in the 70s, but those morning lows are in the 30s and lower 40s. So a great looking forecast. Unseasonably cool weather will continue. That being said, we still have the impacts of our air quality, given that we're in a valley. When we are around those big fireworks displays, all of that PM 2.5, the smoke just hangs in. So very healthy, very unhealthy air developing at about 10:30 until 11 o'clock at night. We'll see that scour out, though, have a nice little onshore flow going, and that certainly contributing to the cooler weather ahead. Highs in the 70s for the Sierra today, with 80s and 90s throughout the foothills. As we make our way southward here towards Yosemite, we're in the 80s for today. Lower elevations, though, still in the 90s to near 100. Central Coast, lots of low clouds and fog to start us off. Clearing inland, highs are in the 100s. For the San Joaquin Valley Bay Area forecast, we're in the 60s with 80s inland, and moving our way along the northwest coast, we've got a lot of low clouds and fog. 58 for Fort Bragg. Move inland, we're in the 90s, and again, that risk of thunderstorms for the northern Sierra. Our Central Valley forecast still looking at 90s for today. That Delta influence will certainly bring down the temperatures right along I-80 as we move farther from that. The temperatures warm, but overall much improved from what we've been seeing. A look at our 3-day forecast. Highs are going to cool into the 80s for our Friday. We're still going to keep it on the seasonable side for the holiday weekend near 90. Expanding that into the next 10 days, though, we've got highs moving back towards 100 by the middle and end of next week.
Thank you, Monica. Next, we're going to take you to Boise and then eventually to Portland, where we'll bring you the 4th of July forecast. Stay with us. Thanks for sticking with us for Weather Out West. So next we're going to take you all the way to Boise, where they may have a break from the intense heat, but it's going to come with the chance for a couple of thunderstorms.
Welcome, I'm Hector Mendoza here out of Boise, Idaho, and here are some of the things that we have on the way for today, as we do have those hot and dry conditions that continue through the beginning of this week. We also have some storm chances that come along and are in the mix, and that starts today and extends all the way through the middle of the week. And with that, with the dry conditions and some of the storm chances we could see, heightened fire danger is something that we're going to continue to monitor through the rest of this week. And just looking at some of the temperatures, about a couple degrees shy of 100 degrees for many spots. They're at 99 expected for this afternoon here in Mountain Home. Low 90s out in the Magic Valley, and well into the 80s as we head into this afternoon for portions of the mountains. But as we look back, as we are in the final day of June, here's just kind of what we saw and kind of what we've seen so far, as we have a 1/1500th of an inch of precipitation we got for the month. Average temperatures, we got close to about 85 degrees, which is about 3.5 degrees warmer than normal. Warmest day so far this month was at 96 degrees, and we hit those 2 days in a row, June 9th and June 10th, and the coolest low temperatures we got there at 43 degrees there back on June 21st. But looking ahead here for the month of July, as that's what we're kicking off as we head on into tomorrow, this is what we're anticipating in terms of some of the drier conditions, trending drier than normal, pretty similar to what we saw this past month. And even when we look at some of the temperatures, as we look at the outlook, we're expected to look likely more hotter than normal as we get on into the month of July. And even just looking at some of the temperatures to kick off July, we are expected to get to triple-digit heat for tomorrow. And because of that, a heat advisory is set into place for all of the Treasure Valley, including places out in Ontario, and even making them way out all the way into the west central mountains for tomorrow. And then after that, that heat will continue. We'll drop back a couple degrees, but still into the upper 90s as we head on into Wednesday. Cooling off just a bit, getting closer to seasonable temperatures here for Friday as we head into 4th of July. And then again, those temperatures look to climb back up as we get into the low to mid 90s as we head on Saturday and Sunday. But we did mention some storm chances do come along today as we do have some moisture coming in from the south. That pretty much sticks around in terms of those thunderstorm chances down in places near the Idaho-Nevada border. That looks likely in places in the Oahes and even in the Magic Valley, getting out into eastern Idaho. And that's pretty much where we stay for today. And those chances pretty much continue for all southwest Idaho and become a little bit more widespread as we head closer into the middle of the week. So as we take a look at the next couple of days here in the mountains, we see those temperatures stay relatively warm. Storm chances are in the mix. So that is something that we continue to pay attention to due to some of the fires we've seen so far, and that could continue to bring in some of those drier conditions. And with the chance of those thunderstorms, some of those winds could pick up, and that could really be crucial and very critical for as we look at some of the conditions there out into some of the mountain areas. Then as we look at the 7-day forecast here in Twin Falls, we're going to see those temperatures climb up into the upper 90s, climb down into the mid to low 80s there as we head on into Friday with those storm chances coming along towards the end of the week, warming back up and seeing lots of sunshine for the weekend. And that's pretty similar to what we're going to be seeing here as we look at our 7-day here in Boise and portions of the Treasure Valley. As triple-digit heat starts to settle in into Tuesday, we see a little bit more of that sun, a little bit more of those clouds start to make its way through as we see some partly cloudy skies coming along with the system that brings in a chance of some showers for the end of the week. Temperatures again return to more seasonable territory into the upper 80s for Friday. And then again, we see that sunshine return and we see that heat really come back, getting into the low to mid 90s as we head into Saturday and Sunday. We also see those warming temperatures into the morning as we'll stay into the low 60s, and that really does continue. So please make sure to be weather aware as we get into the next couple of days, as you'll need some sunscreen, water, and making sure to get shade.
Next, we're going to take you to Portland, Oregon, where it's looking pretty nice for the 4th of July.
I'm meteorologist Rod Hill coming to you from the Rose City on a beautiful sunny day here in Portland, Oregon. And like every city around our beautiful Pacific Northwest, tomorrow evening's fireworks forecast is key. And the big headline here in Portland is literally the most pleasant temperature forecast, not only for July 4th itself, but for the upcoming holiday weekend that we can recall in recent years. So we'll be mainly clear Friday evening, 72 at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 69. Sun goes down just a minute or two after 9 p.m. tomorrow night. And then fireworks displays, of course, well underway in the 10 o'clock hour. And it'll be about 66 degrees. At most, we'll be looking at northwest winds, 5 to 15 miles per hour. We are all dry, at least to start off this Thursday, but we do have thunderstorms expected to develop in southern and southeastern Oregon a little bit later today. If you look at the satellite picture, it doesn't show up well, but there's actually a low sitting offshore. There's a fetch of some moisture coming up into San Francisco, and you can see a little trail path, if you will, of some cumulus cloudiness developing in southern and central Oregon. And that is the area that, here is a closer look, that thunderstorms will be popping a little bit later today. Because of the low offshore and to our south, we've actually had more cloudiness this morning down in the South Willamette Valley, Eugene, for example, and then farther south along the coast down to North Bend. As you go northward from Salem, it's been just delightfully sunny. Now, getting back to that thunderstorm threat later today, the National Weather Service does have a fire weather warning, or red flag warning, same thing, posted for this afternoon and this evening in parts of south central and southeastern Oregon, including Lakeview, and even over toward Burns a little bit later today. And again, the risk here is expected thunderstorms producing lightning strikes, and of course lightning strikes can produce new fire starts. So far, we've had quite a few lightning strike outbreaks, especially in southern Oregon this week, going all the way back to Monday morning. But the fires have been mostly smaller blazes that have quickly been kind of, put out or controlled. We do have the one fire burning near Hermiston, Umatilla County, but the news on that this morning is that the evacuation levels have been downgraded. So the fire scene overall fingers crossed, is in a good spot on this Thursday. Okay, back to what's going to happen weather-wise. It's going to be lovely. Here's the Schnuckwins Casino Resort camera in Lincoln City. This is along our central beaches in Lincoln County. People out there enjoying. Here's the deep blue over Timberline Lodge this morning. Temperatures were in the 40s to start the day. Again, it's been clearer to the north, cloudier to the south. Here's looking across the Willamette River at downtown Portland on this Thursday. Beautiful sunny start. We were mostly low to mid 50s out the door this morning. And of course, we are known for our wine country. Here's the Chehalem Tasting Room camera in Sherwood, a little bit southwest of downtown Portland. You can see the beautiful sunshine out over the vineyard there. Okay, here is that thunderstorm track on our Futurecast models. This is 5 o'clock this afternoon. There's a second round that could potentially overnight tonight into Friday morning. This is July 4th at 6 a.m. Bring some scattered shower activity and thunderstorms along mainly the east flank of the Cascades. And then a third outbreak in central Oregon tomorrow afternoon at 4 p.m. So lots to keep a track of there, and again, monitoring for potential new fire starts. All right, our coast today will be comfortably in the 60s, generally partly cloudy skies expected for the valley. Salem could hit 80, and we think that'll be the upper limit of what we could see high temperature-wise up and down I-5 locally. Up in southwest Washington, not quite as warm. Battleground, in fact, could stop at 75. Notice the 80s, but mostly low to mid 80s in central and eastern areas. So again, pretty comfortable. And here's the Rose City 7-day. Look at the holiday weekend. 77 today, 75 on the 4th, 79 Saturday, 83 still comfortable on Sunday, but some 90s to start next week.
75 for the 4th of July. Couldn't have it any better, right? Next, we're going to take you to Washington State. We're going to take you to Seattle and then Spokane. It's really going to be night and day in terms of the forecast for the 4th of July. We'll see you in a few minutes. Welcome back to Weather Out West on this Thursday. Next, we're taking you to Washington State. First, Spokane, so east of the Cascades, where even though the heat, the wind are starting to back off, that's not going to be for very long. They still have to watch out for a couple of things.
I'm Nicole Hernandez in Spokane, Washington. Take a look at this live look over Riverfront Park, right in the center of Spokane. We've got some festivities getting set up for the 4th of July. This is a little festival that's going to be happening for today all the way through the weekend. So it's going to be fun. They're already set up. There's going to be games, food, and it's going to be a great weekend to go out and enjoy it. Today we're dealing with a little bit of breezy conditions starting this morning and going into our afternoon. Tomorrow, unfortunately, likely going to be the cloudiest of the next few days for your 4th of July. There is a chance for some rain, but I'll let you know why we don't think that's too big of a deal coming up in just a minute. By the time we hit this weekend, it is going to be hot, it is going to be sunny, it is going to be perfect summer weather if your 4th of July activities are continuing into the weekend. Right now, at this exact same time, it is 9:01 when we're recording this right now. We are 12 degrees colder at this point right now than we were exactly 24 hours ago at 9 o'clock yesterday morning. Yesterday, we were dealing with a ton of the compounding heat that we'd seen from the past few days, and we retained a lot of it for our overnight low temperatures. This morning, continuing with the cooling trend, we started to lose that heat. We now feel much more normal for our temperatures across the Spokane Coeur d'Alene area and really the entire region. Everyone almost across the board losing a good amount of temperature in comparison to what we were seeing yesterday morning. We also lose temperature for our afternoon highs as well, about 6 to 7 degrees cooler today across the region. Where that lands us here in Spokane and Coeur d'Alene, it's going to be the low 80s. Out in central Washington, mid to high 80s, depending on where you are. It's going to be much more of a regular summer-like day. So if yesterday and the day before were a little bit too hot for you, then today might look really good. And then we kind of stick with these temperatures for your 4th of July as well. The other thing we're dealing with today is those winds, like I mentioned. Yesterday, quite windy. We have the remnants of that heading into today. 20-mile-per-hour wind gusts possible throughout the day through our region. The difference between today and yesterday is that yesterday our winds were centered mostly in central Washington. Today we start to see those winds move their way into the eastern Washington and North Idaho area. Again, it's just going to be breezy with gusts up to 20 miles per hour, so nothing crazy. By tonight into tomorrow, those winds calm down. Your 4th of July looks pretty normal in terms of breezy conditions. Speaking of 4th of July, yesterday I think I told you thought it was going to be sunny for your 4th of July. I'm going to take that back, unfortunately, because it looks like we're going to have some storms start to develop around us. Most of the actual rain sticks south and east of us, though. The good news is we have just some tiny little chances for a potential shower here to pop up. The bigger impact is going to be in this cloud cover. This is your 4th of July afternoon. You can see clouds. As we continue into the evening, when your fireworks might start popping off, we still sit with cloud cover. So unfortunately, your fireworks might have some cloud cover to contend with, but it's still going to be a nice day. It's still going to be warm. Your 4th of July forecast overall pretty good. And then we have a whole weekend attached to it, and the weekend looks even more clear and better moving forward. Again, it's going to be nice and warm for your 4th of July, 78 degrees by noon, and then by your afternoon, you'll likely be in the 80s. Looking forward to the weekend. We end up really nice as well, sticking with those temperatures in the 80s, and look at all that sunshine on the map. Plenty of sunshine. Every model right now pretty much agreeing that by the beginning to middle of next week, we start warming up again with the potential for some pretty hot temperatures by Tuesday.
Thanks so much, Nicole. Next, we're going to take you west of the Cascade Range to Seattle, which is actually one of the top 10 most traveled areas expected for the 4th of July.
Hi, I'm meteorologist Rich Marriott, and an interesting morning around western Washington. We had a little convergence zone form, which normally gives us some precipitation, but it was weak enough. All it did was give us clouds basically from Snohomish County southward to Pierce County, and outside of there, well, looking at sunshine, and it looks like a nice day there out along the Strait of Juan de Fuca, looking out from our Port Andrews tower cam. But see those convergence zone clouds, at least at mid-morning, still sitting there, but those will be going away as we head towards just a little bit later on this morning. Up and down the sound, we'll see both Tacoma and Everett break out into some sunshine as we head towards later this morning, and especially during the afternoon hours. Take a look at that pollen count from Northwest Asthma and Allergy. A little bit cooler temperature yesterday was great for allergy sufferers because both trees and grasses dropped into the low range, but the weed pollens continued unfortunately in the high range. Maybe another day of cooler temperatures might bring those down a little bit as well. Take a look at our first alert 7-day forecast. We're in pretty good shape today. Probably our coolest day of the week, but only by a few degrees. It'll be upper 60s and low to maybe a few mid-70s. Then we gradually warm up over the weekend, and we're going to be back into the 80s again as we head towards next week, it looks like. Take a look at the satellite image. We had a very weak weather system move through overnight. It's primarily up there in British Columbia. You see the remnants of it right there. It moved on through, and as it moved east of us, which normally happens behind a front, as we'll get a little bit of convergence going on. Usually it gives us a little rainfall, but it wasn't strong enough to even do that. Basically just gave us a little bit of cloud cover. That's going to go away as we head towards later this morning. Should turn into a sunny afternoon most spots, and we do have another system sitting just off the coast. This one, though, is expected to weaken and move down into Oregon and then spin up to the north and east, just kind of brushing by. Might give us a few high clouds over western Washington, but that's about it. You might see a few thunderstorms developing, especially over in southeastern Washington, over there south of Spokane, as we head towards later tomorrow and on into the weekend. But overall, for western Washington, not going to have much effect on us. In fact, high pressure should begin building off the coast as we head towards the first part of next week, and that's going to put us back into sunny and warm to hot weather for most of the week next week. Take a look at that first pitch forecast for tonight out at T-Mobile Park. Good night to head out there. It's going to be a little bit cooler. That first pitch a little bit later tonight at 7:10. We're going to be seeing temperatures mostly in the upper 60s, but there is going to be a fireworks display after the game, so you get an early start on your 4th of July celebrations, and should stay probably into the low to mid 60s for that fireworks display as well. Take a look at that all-important 4th of July forecast. It's going to start warming back up just a little bit. We're going to be looking for partly to mostly sunny skies. High temperatures will peak out in the late afternoon, getting into the probably mid 70s in a lot of places, and then gradually cool during the evening. It does look like as we head towards fireworks time around 10 o'clock tomorrow night, we'll be seeing those temperatures dropping back into the low to mid 60s. But overall, having a little bit cooler pattern, especially for folks who sit out there all day in the sunshine, having it just a little bit cooler probably is going to be helpful for getting through the day without getting totally roasted by the sun. Take a look at our weekend forecast elsewhere out along the coast. We're going to be looking for mostly cloudy skies tomorrow, only a few sun breaks and temperatures in the mid 60s. A little bit bit more sunshine, especially in the afternoon, Saturday and Sunday. High temperatures warming up a little bit in the upper 60s to near 70 degrees. Taking a look at the Puget Sound itself, we're going to be looking for partly sunny tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny, then mostly sunny and warming up for Saturday and Sunday. As we head up towards the Cascades to do a little bit of hiking, partly sunny, it looks like through the weekend, gradually warmer at the pass levels, with those high temperatures getting up into the low 70s by the time we hit Sunday. And then taking a look at our extended forecast overall, we'll see that gradual warming over the weekend. Then as we head on towards the next week, we're going to be looking for those high temperatures to push right back up into the low to mid 80s. And if we look at that 6 to 10 day temperature forecast, you see we stay mostly in the 80s all the way into the following weekend.
Thank you so much, Rich. Coming up next, we are going to take you nationwide just to give you a bigger picture, which some areas, especially New England, could have some severe thunderstorms later today. We'll see you in a few minutes. Welcome back to Weather Out West. I'm Ashley Ruiz. Next, we're going to give you the big picture of what's going on nationwide. In case you're traveling for the holiday weekend, especially today, you may run into some delays up in New England and just the Northeast in general.
Hey everyone, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Frazier. Let's jump right into your watches and warnings for today, and well, not much is going on. We do have those red flag warnings out in the Northwest. I'm talking mainly for much of Washington, Oregon, Northern California, and the western parts of Nevada. All right, that means increased fire risk, dry conditions, getting a little toasty up in northern Montana. Got heat advisories in effect, and a little bit of that flooding along the desert southwest due to that monsoonal flow we've been noticing for much of the last couple of days. All right, but it's July, so it is hot out there, and it's hot across the board with a few exceptions here. I'm going to point out Texas, because Texas is mainly in those 80s. They're usually seeing triple digits. What's going on? A lot of rain from a stalled out frontal system that's just hanging over the region, giving a lot of rain to much of West Texas, much of the southeastern and east coast of the United States. A lot of those lower 90s, not as hot as the heat wave from a week ago, but still on the warm side. It's still July, so we can understand that. Much of the areas are going to not cool down too efficiently too. Lots of moisture, rain chances, cloud cover keeps lows in those 60s and 70s for the most part. But let's talk about the tropics, because there hasn't really been a ton of activity. You got some low pressure kind of sitting out in northern Mexico. What I am watching basically looks like not major hurricane, but Hurricane Flossie. Interesting name. 70% chance of development just to the south of it. Not really going to be impacting land so much, but there is a 40% chance of development on this system sitting on the northern end of Florida. There have been seeing a lot of constant rainfall. The only thing to stop a lot of this tropical activity is going to be Saharan dust. You got high pressure, two high pressures, kind of blowing that Sahara dust plume toward the Gulf. We're going to start to see a little bit less in terms of development as a result. So let's kind of break down the next couple of days in terms of rainfall potential. Lots of rain across Texas and much of the desert southwest. That's going to head into the early part of Independence Day. I'm talking like very early morning. Not a ton of activity is expected. A little bit of that heavier stuff across much of the Central Plains and the northern Rocky Mountains. I'm talking mainly Wyoming and Montana. So actually looks like most of your fireworks forecasts are going to go off without a hitch. That's great. Let's go into your Saturday. Still just going to be a lot of rain, mainly for the central United States as this next system tries to push its way through. Well, what does that mean for your sparkler forecast? No, it's not going to be a dud. It's not going to be so-so. I say it's going to be pretty spectacular for a majority of the country, and that's exactly what we want to ring in our Independence Day. Just make sure you guys are staying very, very safe out there.
Thanks so much. A sparkler forecast. Gotta love it. Coming up next, I am going to bring you the latest drought monitor update. Unfortunately, there have been some conditions that have worsened for portions of the country. Welcome back to Weather Out West. I'm Ashley Ruiz, and it's Thursday, so a happy Thursday to you. But Thursdays mean we have a new drought monitor update. And unfortunately for some, the drought conditions have worsened for portions of Washington State, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Utah, and Colorado. Not widespread, but for a couple of regions within those states. Improvements for portions of New Mexico, West Texas, the Central Plains, and Florida, so that's some good news there, putting 27.3% of the U.S. in a drought. 15.6% are abnormally dry. That's that D0 category, and it's that yellow category. About 13.9% in the moderate drought, so that's D1 out of 4. That's that orange, kind of tannish orange, light one there, in a moderate drought, and around 8% in the severe drought category, the orange color, and then around 4% in the extreme drought category, the red, and then less than 1% in the exceptional drought. Now that's D4 out of D4. Some good news there. There have been improvements for some of these spots that were in that D4 category. So that's some good news. Now you see the red colors, and especially over the Cascade Mountain Range up in Washington state, and so that's that severe drought. So initially it was under a moderate drought, now a severe drought. And you can see it on the previous update. So this was the last week's update. So that moderate drought now increased to a severe drought. And you can see over Idaho and up into Montana and into Wyoming as well. You can kind of see that red color. That means that extreme drought. So there have been portions that have worsened, unfortunately, but the seasonal drought outlook, this was released a couple of weeks ago, so we'll have to see if there have been any updates to it, but this is now through September. The brown color indicates the drought conditions will continue. You don't see as much that drought likely begins. That's that very, very light green color, which if you look over portions of Iowa, that's where it shows the drought likely ends. Or likely begins. That's that yellow color, pardon me. So that would be more so for portions of western Washington, eastern Washington as well, and then maybe portions of central California. So the seasonal drought outlook through September shows that. We'll see what we can at least maybe see over the next couple of weeks. We'll see with that update that comes out maybe in a couple of weeks from the Climate Prediction Center and the Drought Monitor. Now, not much rain is expected over the west over the next 7 days, although you see the Pacific Northwest maybe slightly above normal. Meanwhile, portions of the western portion of the United States, so looking at portions of the desert Southwest, could get below normal conditions. Now let's wrap up things with a look at your 7-day forecast. Once again, from our 8 regions, Seattle, you see looking nice for the 4th of July, about 75 before they crank up the heat next week into the 80s. Portland, pretty nice, I would say. Clouds and sunshine, 75 on the 4th of July through the weekend. Going to be great if you're hiking, camping, anything like that. Next week's going to be hot once again. Then for our friends in Spokane, a couple of isolated showers for the 4th of July, about 82, cranking up the heat once again next week. Now for our friends in Boise, a couple of hit or miss thunderstorms for the 4th of July. Not expecting anything too widespread, although they'll have to watch out for that. But the triple digits return next week once again. Sacramento, 88 on Saturday. Next week, back up into the low and mid 90s. San Diego, looking fabulous. 79 for the 4th of July, 80s return. Now, Phoenix, a couple of monsoonal thunderstorms into today, but really hit or miss. And then next week, the 110s return. So that extreme heat will make a comeback. And then finally, our friends in Denver, hit or miss thunderstorms, but then you see not so bad. And you heard them mention that it's really going to be hit or miss as well. And then temperatures next week in the low and mid 90s. We want to thank you again so much for joining us for Weather Out West. You can find this Monday through Friday. We'll bring you the latest around our western regions, and tomorrow, 4th of July, we'll have more updates and what you can expect if you're traveling or if you're just going to stay within the region.